What's happening, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to episode 63 of Bob. Today we will be covering, after a very long time, matter of fact, I looked it up, I think the last time we covered anything related to this was Ruby Ridge, which was like episode 19, I think, for us, or something like that.
Yeah, it was a long time ago. I felt like we said we were going to cover this, and we just never got around to it.
Yeah, and I didn't even say what we're covering today. We're covering the Oklahoma bombing and Timothy McVeigh. We're finally getting into that. And like I said, we covered a majority of this a while ago, last year, I should say, as to the events that led up to this. And it was kind of going to be like a 3-part series thing, and we just never really, for whatever reason, we got way off track. So if anybody wants to, I would strongly recommend, if you want a more in-depth understanding of what's going to take place today, I would say check out the episode that we had on Ruby Ridge, which is episode 19. And then check out Waco, episode 24 and 25. We did have a 27 on there, but the third part was kind of unnecessary. We probably could have done it in 2. But yeah, that's what we're going to be covering today, and Mike will be taking the lead. As always, you can show support for us at our website at bobbusapodcast.com. And then also our Facebook page, which is Band of Bearded Brothers. You can come hang out there and chat with us. And those are the best ways to stay in touch with us. So, and we are now doing a new thing, obviously, where we're going live every time on our YouTube channel. We're going to share it to Facebook, so you might be watching right now because of that. Or you have perhaps already subscribed, clicked the ring, the little bell there, so that it tells you when we go live, and then you won't miss it when we go live. And we can hang out with you guys and chat while we're doing the episode. So you guys go check out our YouTube channel. I promise from here on out, we're going to get all the back catalog up there as well, eventually, some point in time. But going forward, we will have our episodes on there for you guys to come and hang out.
Make promises you can't guarantee.
Oh, it's going to happen.
Well,
I don't know when.
Yeah, we probably do like the audio,
happen.
but we haven't done video on every episode, so
just about every. We have the audio. That's true.
Audio.
True. The audio version will be on there. Yeah. So, Micah, how's life? You're here. People are excited. They're like, "Thank God, we're not going to hear William, just William."
It's going. Life is good. Life is good. I apologize if I cry at some point during this episode. I promise it's nothing too severe, just probably the jalapeno that's still on my finger and I accidentally just rubbed into my eye. If I do cry, that would be why.
I love that we have it on video for evidence. We can test this now. That is amazing. Is this like jalapeno you grew yourself, or?
No, but it was grown by a coworker of Brittany's, and I cut up, I don't know, 6 or 7 of them, and we made some pineapple jalapeno salsa.
Nice.
And jalapeno cheddar cream cheese dip.
Very nice.
So, yeah, it's all over my fingers and in my nails. Even though I've washed my hands several times, it's still burning the crap out of my face.
Hey, well, at least, at least you didn't do anything else. That's positive. That's, at least it'll just be your eyes burning at this point.
Yeah,
so
because my eyes, they're just unimportant. I already have glasses, so, why the fudge not?
You are legally blind, I think, right? I mean, we aren't allowed to talk about it. No. He's not legally blind. Never mind, guys. He's totally fine.
I just have a restriction on my driver's license that says I have to wear my glasses. And that is explainable. I can explain that. That was just
as being blind. That is
my eyes I always, so like when I would go to get a new driver's license or whatever, I would take my glasses off prior to having to go read it, and it would be just fine. But if I take my glasses off when I'm used to, for the last however freaking long I've had my glasses on, everything is kind of blurry for a minute until my eyes readjust. So I was unable to read the lines after immediately taking my glasses off. So I had to put them back on to read, and that got me my nice little restriction. And this was when there was still, like you could still enter the place without having an appointment and crap. So there was like a butt ton of people in there. Yes, butt ton.
It's a lot.
And
Are we talking like Kim Kardashian butt? Or are we just talking like average?
Sure, we'll say. I mean, we'll
stick figure booty, because that's not a lot of people. We all know stick figure booty doesn't I mean, a knock in the
I
booties.
don't know what that is.
It's where there's nothing. It's just a stick figure.
Yeah, okay.
That's just terrible. Now it's like I'm body shaming. All right, why don't you take over? I'm gonna stop
William.
talking. I'm sorry.
All right. So, if in case in case you are unaware, the Oklahoma bombing was perpetrated by Timothy McVeigh.
Oh, we're jumping
So
right into it.
we're gonna go right into it, right? I mean, you've got limited time tonight.
That's true. We got about an hour and a half.
Unusual. Usually, I'm the one that is like, "Hey guys, I got time." But William, he's got other more important sporting events to do. So
no, Liam had his first day of school. That was a big thing today, and then I went to the gym right after work. Then we had this going on, and then we also had a draft that was planned a while ago. So yeah, it's a busy day.
It seems a little late in the year for a draft, doesn't it? You do that like before the preseason.
No, because the injuries. You don't know. Well, think about people get cut. There's a lot going on that way.
Sure.
Plus, they played 3 preseason games this year, so
really
a couple changes that way. Oh yeah.
Is that intentional, or is that just like
sports
happened? Like a game got canceled, or
no rule changes. They so what they did is how like they used to always do 4 and then progressively like every week they would cut a little less and less. Well, now they're able to carry more people longer, which is kind of good. But then the final cut is like huge. They go from like I think it was 82, 84 players down to 55. So I mean that is a big cut. Before it used to always be you would cut 10, 15 guys a week or whatever. And then I think it was I can't remember the exact rule on that. It was like up to the second week you could carry. Man, I know in college you can carry like 120 guys or something on a team. That's kind of crazy.
Yeah, but I think college has bigger teams too, though. I think they have like 70 some or.
Yeah, because in football it's 55 man roster.
It used to be 53, but if it's 55 now, then
I think they've adjusted.
Good for them.
I could be wrong. But anyways,
can pay ludicrous money to more people.
And this is kind of silly to even bring this up because guys, we're professionals, but I just want to make sure people don't get too far. We sound okay. We didn't even think about checking if we sound good and if it's actually being recorded. Are you recording?
Yeah, I'm recording.
Okay,
of course I'm recording.
Guys, we know what
All
we're
right, let me start
doing.
that recording.
Yeah, see?
I'm kidding.
All right.
I'm definitely recording.
On a real note, too, I just want to add, this one's going to be, and Micah did most research, this is on him for this one, but, bro, this is going to be pretty somber. This is not, and if there's any point when we laugh or anything like that, I just want to put it out there now that I'm not laughing at any of the awful, terrible things that took place. I'm more laughing at some of the stupidity of some of the organizations that we'll be dealing with and some of their stances and point of views on life. And they're almost comical. Not in a good way, but like, as you'll see, I don't know how much Mike is going to bring it up, but some of these people are just, they're ludicrous. I don't know how else to put it out there. I mean, they're very special breed of people, and they're the chosen race that should rule this world. And anyways, having laid that out there as a pretense, Micah, take on over. Where does our story begin?
Hey, our story begins in, I believe, April 23rd of 1968 when Timothy McVeigh is born. So he was born to second-generation immigrants from Ireland, I believe. And he was settled in Niagara County. I'm not even quite sure where that is, to be honest. To me, it would be like it's got to be near Niagara Falls, but I doubt it. Anyway, his parents divorced when he was 10 years old, and he ended up living with his dad. Moved to New York. For all intents and purposes, my understanding is that he had a pretty normal childhood. He didn't have any major instances of his parents abusing him, sexual abuse, or anything like that. So it kind of took a lot of people by surprise that he acted the way that he did. Because they didn't really have something to point out to be like, hey, this is why he did what he did. So anyway, I'm certainly probably not as detailed as William when it comes to this, so I'm not going to go through every day of his life. But like I said, his parents
at 3 years old.
his parents divorced when he was 10. He lived with his father. His grandfather was into like firearms and stuff, introduced him to
Whoa.
firearms.
Red flag.
I know.
Red flag right there.
So it might shock you to know that he's been associated with white supremacists, and that I'll get into a little more detailed later. Oh, thanks, William. We appreciate that comment. Go ahead and eat some peanuts then.
Oh my God, here we go again. This is the trigger for people eating on a podcast. I'm just going to talk to try and cover the fact that my brother was like, I'm going to eat peanuts while I'm the one talking on this podcast.
So,
you know what? This deserves this
he
again.
He was a rather shy, drawn back individual, posed by some people. That was mostly later on in his youth, I would say, before he graduated high school. There are some people that say he was very outgoing, very friendly when he was younger, and that changed. However, like I said, his grandfather introduced him to firearms. He got very into them. He was very big advocate for the Second Amendment, having firearms, having the right to do ultimately defend yourself against the government, so on and so forth.
Gotta tell you, there's a lot of red flags right off the bat here. A lot of.
I was drawing a lot of lines. I was like, God dang, people are gonna start thinking I'm the next Oklahoma City bomber here.
No, you're not.
The one thing that he had that I do not is that he read. I know I wrote it down. I can't remember right off the top of my head what it's called, but it's a. God dang it! It's a diary, Turner Diaries, I believe.
Oh, the Turner Diaries, yeah,
which is apparently very prominent in like white supremacy and racism and all that kind of crap.
Pretty stronghold for them there. It's like they read it to their kids.
I haven't read it, so I can't really speak to say that it is for sure.
Oh, it is. A lot
of things get labeled white supremacists, and I'm like, but it's not.
Oh no, that's when they probably read to their kids. I'm not going to say that
the Turner Diaries is or is not. I have not read them.
I'm gonna check. Keep going.
Yeah, check. Google will tell you. It'll give you the truth.
I shouldn't be Googling this, by the way. I'm going to be on a list as if I'm not already. They'd be like, this guy's looking up the Turner Diaries.
Oh, trust me. You and I are already on a list. If there's a list that we could be on, we're on it.
Yes.
So anyway, he was big into the whole guns and believed in the Second Amendment. He was also very tech savvy. So he actually hacked into some, at the time, I'm sure it was a little less, but he hacked into some government, which I'm surprised he didn't end up in jail for this, hacked into some government websites with his computer, which was a Commodore 64, which is like an old school computer. But we are talking about, the really early 90s here. So it's not like a really... probably not. No, it couldn't be the 90s. He did it in high school or before high school. So he graduated in 86. So we're talking early 80s here. This is before computers were really like good.
So quick note on that. First of all, before we get into him being Edward Snowden, basically, the Turner Diaries here, which I did know this, but I thought I'd just look it up really quick. Somebody wrote it. Their name was William Pierce, but they were under pseudonym Andrew MacDonald. Was the leader of the neo-Nazi National Alliance. So, published 1978. The premise of the whole story is the premise of the Earl Turner, member of an underground white supremacist army, provide an inside account of an Aryan revolution that overturns the United States government in the near future. Basically, which leads to the extermination of anybody who is not what they deem as a
superior Aryans.
In it, notable sequences: the Turner's guerrilla unit detonates a homemade bomb at an FBI headquarters, killing hundreds. A passage that comes to be seen as foreshadowing and an inspiration. And again, it even mentions to the Oklahoma bombing. But
Yeah. We can get a little bit more than the far as that goes.
So I'm gonna say probably not the best book ever, right?
Yeah, probably not.
Probably not. Like
the closeness in what happens in the book versus what actually happened. It's actually very close. So they definitely drew a line and said like, hey, he got his part of his inspiration from this book.
Okay.
So this book obviously had a big pull on who he was and what he was. But prior to getting into all this kind of stuff, from my understanding of everything that I've looked up, he was a above average intelligence. He didn't do very well in school up until his graduation year in '86.
Isn't it like everybody?
He was.
I feel like everybody I've ever talked to in the public education
really well,
system.
And then in their senior year, they give up. They don't really try.
I feel like it's the reverse. I feel like everybody's like, I have no idea how I graduated. But
it's the last year. It's mostly like partying and stuff for my.
Yeah, maybe.
Granted, I never did it.
Yeah, we
so
partied.
I don't know for sure.
Hard.
Yeah, we partied real hard.
Our dance parties were like crazy. Your options were like your brother, Micah, your sister, or your other sister, or your mom, if you're feeling, Yeah. Anyways, keep going. I got weird.
So we had some ravers in our time.
We were
sure. But he was named the most promising computer programmer, and that was at the Starpoint Central High School. So he didn't have like awful. I mean, he didn't fail. Obviously, he did pass. And he had a brief stunt at college. He did drop out though. Which is another thing. Okay. So anyway,
he had left it hanging like there was gonna be something big was about to happen. Like,
well, I feel like a lot of things come back to like they like to say that the people that commit horrible acts and whatnot are people that are not well educated and so on and so forth. And college being one of those things. So. To me, I feel like him dropping out of college, there's a ton of people that have dropped out of college. I feel like it's not a very significant detail. Anyway, he had hopes of owning a gun shop, but I got myself distracted.
Sorry.
So earlier in life, while he was still in high school, he was actually apparently used for babysitting and that kind of stuff. So, could you imagine being one of those parents?
Really?
Like, yeah. Could you imagine being one of those parents? That dude totally babysat my kids, and then he's like one of the most infamous. Yes, infamous domestic terrorists that this country's ever seen. So that would be. It'd be like, counting your lucky stars, I guess. But apparently,
I do remember. I'm sorry. Just one last thing before we get beyond college. As far as him being bullied, because I heard that in his psyche, that obviously his parents on and off patched together a couple times, and he did get bullied a little bit in school. Well, he made it out like, if you talk to him, it was made out like he was constantly bullied, right? But from my understanding, they attempted. I think when he was in his early teens, he was a very skinny dude, so like they called him Noodle McVeigh or something like that. They did have a nickname for him, and at one point they did try to give him a swirly, which is pretty disgusting. I guess it was a failed attempt. It didn't happen. Which
failed attempt.
To be fair, let's put this out there right now. I want to know from our listeners: have you ever, first of all, if you gave it to somebody, you're a douchebag. Let's say you're a douchebag if you gave somebody a swirly, but have you been on the receiving end, or have you even heard of somebody? Because we've all heard of the idea and story of a swirly, but I've never met anybody who's gotten a swirly or given.
We're also talking about the 80s here, so I feel like swirlies were probably a lot more prominent.
Cocaine.
You don't end yourself in juvie for giving someone a swirly. So
sorry, I just wanted to add that. Sorry.
He did claim that he was bullied pretty hard in high school, and that he considered the U.S. government to be the ultimate bully. He also believed that you had to fight, against your bullies. So straight down to the point of like, killing your bully kind of thing. So for him, looking at the U.S. government in that way, that was also had a huge thing to do with why he did what he did. Just for the simple fact that he felt like he had no other choice. So, moving right along. After he graduated high school, he decided to join the military. That was in '88. So he graduated. Graduation seasons was like June or July. I think it's June, right?
Yep.
I want to say it's June.
Again, we both were homeschooled. So
Yeah. I want to say it was June.
Graduation is the summertime. Yeah.
In
I believe,
86.
right?
And then in May of '88, he joined the military. He was 20 years old. I don't remember that portion of it. So anyway, he joined the army. He was big into sniper tactics and that kind of stuff. That's what he wanted to do. He looked into explosives. So he was actually a pretty good soldier, from my understanding. He followed orders well. He was a very good shot. And he ended up getting promoted to, I can't remember which rank he got promoted to, but he ended up getting promoted to, where he actually had some say over other people's roles and like what they're going to be doing on a day-to-day basis. And he ended up getting reprimanded, which, in my opinion, I think this is kind of stupid because I understand it to an extent, and I think there's better ways to make your point.
You understand what?
Reprimanded.
Sorry.
The reason he got reprimanded in the military was because he bought a white power T-shirt at a Ku Klux Klan protest.
Well, yeah, that's that's frowned upon. Generally,
he got in trouble for buying this KKK shirt, right? Which I understand, 100%. I totally get that. However, the reason he bought this, and I'm not defending him. If he's a racist, I mean, he's a racist.
Yeah, we're not
defending that portion of it
at all.
But he said basically there were black servicemen that were wearing shirts that were Black Power T-shirts. So in his mind, he was like, well, if you're going to wear that, I'm going to wear a white power T-shirt. And he ended up getting reprimanded for it. Which...
So this is what I don't get about this. Okay, so the military, and not that I've never served, never had that honor, but knowing those that have, every single one of them, even the ones that didn't have positive experiences, if it come out and said, listen, when you go in and when you become part of the military, there is no color. There is no really, even now that you have like everything mixed, there's no sexist. Like you are a unit of people that are intended to achieve a goal, and you uphold the idealism of what America was founded upon, and the idealism of that, and you swear an oath to uphold that and defend it from both foreign and domestic threats. So, to me, the whole idea of like, okay, you got people wearing this shirt or that shirt, I don't know where that's really coming into play. That's kind of weird. Is he talking about like this was in boot camp or like when they were out in the field? I mean, I don't know.
No, I think this is after all of that.
Okay. Okay.
But I mean, I get it to an extent, but it's kind of like, I mean, if you've got a one rule that applies, it should apply for everybody, right? And that's just how I feel about pretty much everything.
Okay,
if you've got like no hat rules in school and that kind of crap, you can't allow certain people. Well, thank you.
You're talking about equal fairness doctrine here. Done.
Yeah, not equality. God.
The equality.
They expect equality of outcome. That's what it is. So I'm more for the equality portion. People you should be treated the same until you deserve to be treated one way or another. Whether that be disrespect or respect or whatever it might be, you earn those things based on what you do and how you act and all that kind of stuff. It all comes into play, and truly don't believe that everybody deserves respect. So anyway, he was a top scoring gunner on a Bradley fighting vehicle, which, if you don't know what that is, it's an armored personnel carrier basically, and it's got a 25 millimeter cannon on it. So it's a fairly large round, and he did really well for that. So he ended up getting promoted to sergeant. There we go. He was a sergeant. Now, he did use his rank to, let's say, give black servicemen undesirable work.
Oh, so he was a douchebag.
He also had racial slurs that he would throw their way. So, yes, I wouldn't say he was... he wasn't really up there in your moral categories. You know, like I get certain people have certain reasons why they dislike certain people, and if you've got a good reason for that, that's fine. But if you treat everyone that is a certain skin color horrible just because of their skin color, like that's pretty messed up. Yeah. Feeling okay over there?
Yes. Sorry, I burnt the crap out of my mouth with tea. I'm drinking some raspberry tea over here, and burnt the crap out of my mouth, but I was trying to play it off. But thanks for calling it to everybody's attention. You know, everybody would like to check my face out. Does it look a little flushed?
It's not too bad. You just you look very distracted, like you're getting phased out over there or something.
Phased out?
Phased out. Like you're spacing out.
Oh, I'm spacing out. I apologize. I'm here. I'm focused. I am with you.
Yeah. And
sorry, go ahead.
So he did get several awards through
you're so observant.
His military career, we'll say. It wasn't long enough to be considered a career. However, now there was a couple different accounts. So he did actually serve in Iraq. So this would have been the first Desert Storm, I believe. And there was a couple different accounts as to who he was and what he may or may not have done. So he claimed before his execution, he claimed that he had decapitated an Iraqi soldier his first day.
Yeah, I heard about this.
With said 25 millimeter Bradley cannon. There was also other accounts that said that he had killed 2 Iraqi soldiers from quite a distance.
That did happen because he was awarded for that, right? Then they give him some sort of an award from 1,000 yards out. He took the shots.
I wrote those 2, or he got a Bronze Star for Valor for those, and then he also received the National Defense Service Medal, the Southwest Asian Service Medal, an Army Service Ribbon, and a Kuwaiti Liberation Medal. Some of those seem like they're just like those
some like they're made up
trophies. We'll call them trophy. I mean, that's kind of messed up.
I mean, it is, but isn't that kind of sometimes with those? I mean, I don't know. Maybe now we're getting off track, but like sometimes, because that was even a point he brought up. That was one of his things that really, at least that he alluded to, is that him being awarded, and I forget what the specific medal was for taking that shot or those shots that killed those 2 guys at 1,000 yards away. He said that he felt like, because that was the war that was nicknamed the $100 War, right? Like it was over before it even started. Like we rolled in there,
pretty much
obliterated. Thank you. We're helping each other so much today with words.
I wouldn't say obliterate. It was more like
wiped them out pretty fast.
Well, yeah, but it was more like they were surrendering.
True, but I guess what he was
than we had to do really in the actual combat.
Well, he said what affected his psyche is that he realized how unprepared they were to take us on. He said it felt unfair, that basically they didn't have a fighting chance. Now, I think that could be argued in whatever, but I don't know. I'm just saying what we're trying to do is give a picture of what's going on in this guy's head. And at this point in time, clearly he's got some very not okay opinions of other races. He seems to be I mean, and I don't know if you hit on this or not, but that book that he was a fan of, the Turner Diaries,
Mm-hmm.
he started reading that, I think, in his early high school days there. He would not shut up about this thing. He would talk to anybody and everybody, and nobody that wanted to listen, he'd especially talk to them about this book, including in the military. So the guy, it's kind of weird. I mean, I don't know. As far as he gets moved up in the sergeant position, he's abusing his, I guess you could say, rank, which I'm sure happens across the board. I'm not saying it doesn't, but I don't know. It's just, I guess that coupled with how he then expressed his opinion on how we fought those over in Afghanistan. Weird timing, by the way, that's
Iraq.
Oh, I apologize. Okay, I thought it was a sad. That's weird. Okay, I'm sorry. Afghanistan's stuck in my head right now because of everything that's going on. So
Yeah, that cluster.
yeah. But continue. I interrupted you again.
Right
I
now.
apologize. Yeah, Phil did a great episode on that today. I shared his episode. He did about a 55-minute episode, just him, actually. It was well done.
Nice. From the What If Tomorrow
Podcast. Yeah.
It's a good podcast. So, thanks.
Sorry.
Thanks for reminding
I was
us.
just from the beginning. I'm sorry.
So for those two, he did get the Bronze Star of Valor. Because you said you weren't sure what you got for that. But that's what he got. So after this, the stint in the first Desert Storm, which, like you said, didn't last very long. They pretty much just steamrolled it because the Iraqi army was very mismanaged. It didn't have supplies. They were happy to surrender themselves. Now, the one thing that I don't know if it actually happened, I mean, it's possible. I think it would indicate that there were what do you call those, like war crimes.
War crimes.
He was told that basically he claimed that he was told to fire upon surrendering enemy soldiers.
Okay, now see, I heard that he did this of his own accord, and when his why am I drawing a blank on this? Not supervisor. When his ranking officer, and there's a better term for that than what I'm using there, was asked about this incident of him firing upon people who had surrendered or were in the process of firing, they would not give a quote. They wouldn't speak to it at all. So,
no, I did hear both ways. He said that he was told to do it, and there was a few other people that fought beside him that claimed that he was the kind of person that would just do it, and that's what they thought. I don't know one way or another.
I mean, considering what this guy ended up doing long term, and I don't know if you watched any of his interviews at all, kind of leading into some of this. Did you watch? Like,
I saw a brief interview where, I mean, he's very clearly and 100% he's not apologetic for any of it.
Was that you? Because I say I have my phone.
It was, yeah.
Okay, I just was like, I got a message and it popped up and I was like, I thought I had my phone on vibrate. All right, that was okay. It was another group one.
Didn't this time.
All right.
So, no, it was okay. It was the Gulf War, not Desert Storm. My bad. It's one of the. I'm not sure. I'm not that up to date on modern wars. Anyway, that would, to me, I think, in my personal opinion, from hearing him speak and whatnot, I think he wasn't afraid to obviously kill innocents. However, I don't think that was his goal. I don't think that he was necessarily a malicious person. I think he thought this was something he had to do, and in hopes that other people would follow suit and realize that, like, hey, the government's kind of doing a lot of bad things and so on and so forth. So I'm not justifying the means used for this, and I think that they are idiotic means. Anybody that thinks that you can kill a bunch of innocent people and that's somehow going to motivate people behind your cause is clearly a little off mentally. Like you're not thinking straight at that point. Like,
the one last weird thing I would add about his military service too is weird is that I don't know if he was a general, but the one guy that he served under that was pretty high ranking there had said if I had an army of McVeighs, I'd never lose a war. I'd never lose a battle. Even he felt that he was that good of a soldier. Now I don't I don't know if that's just because he would follow any order, which is weird because he
would probably be following orders because he aspired to be the part of the special forces for the Army, and it's a 21-day class, and like they even have a TV show about this. I think it might not be for the Army, but it's for like Navy SEALs or something.
Mm-hmm.
And he dropped out after 2 days. Like he washed out.
This is because, okay, to be fair on this, I mean, not fair. Right? He gets he comes out of he gets discharged. Was he getting discharged or getting sent? He had just came back from Iraq, right? He had just come back from a tour, and they offered to give him time off before jumping right into trying to become a green. What was he trying to become?
Special forces.
And they're like, do you need take time off, whatever? And he was like, no, let's do it. But he was like exhausted, went straight in, and like you said, 2 days had to drop out. And later blamed that on Jewish people and the cabal and some other. I swear that was the reason the Jewish people running in the cabal kicked me out of special forces.
Well,
anyways, keep going.
Anyway, after that failure, he decided to leave. And that was in 91. He did get an honorable discharge, so he was not like kicked out of the military. He left on his own. Is it volition? I mean,
I get the word you're trying to use, but I suck at that word. Of his own. I'm gonna let me jump in with you. I can't let you sink alone. Come on. Of his own volition.
I feel like it's volition, but I also want to say it's gotta be volition.
Guys, we're so smart. You should listen
to us all the time. We're super intelligent.
So smart.
So anyway, he leaves the military, and that's kind of when he started writing like letters and stuff to publications on his viewpoints, which probably under normal circumstances wouldn't be relevant because, there's people out there that write letters apparently to newspapers. I've never done that. I
feel like you got to be pretty worked up, right?
I feel like the time out of your day to write a letter, like
we're like, listen here, you dirty little sluts. Until you won.
Well, he didn't call anybody that. But
I wish that's all
I
he
do
had
have
done.
some excerpts from. I said that wrong, but
no, please. It is experts. We all know.
Yeah. So I have some quotes from letters he sent. So he sent these to a local newspaper. The first one says, "Taxes are a joke, regardless of what political candidate promises." In quotations. They will increase. More taxes are always the answer to government mismanagement. They mess up, we suffer. Taxes are reaching cataclysmic levels with no slowdown in sight. Is civil war imminent? Do we have to shed blood to reform the current system? I hope it doesn't come to that, but it might. Now,
hashtag signed, your dirty little slut. Right? Is it?
Sure.
I love your face. You're like, sure. That's sorry. I felt like because he has like this weird, like in the beginning, love-hate relationship with the U.S. military. I thought that was me. With the U.S. military,
turned that off and it still went off.
Hey, super unprofessional.
Well, we are
professionals.
So.
We are. So he has this. He's in the service and he wants to do really well or did really well. And then at the same time, I guess what I'm confused about is he's serving the military. He's doing this, but at the same time, he has this deep hatred for the system, as it were. Which I totally get what you're saying about, like some of the stuff he was saying, and I want to be very clear how I say this. I want to be very careful how I say this. there were elements of what he said where I was like, I kind of got his point of view. Not in any of the systematic, any of the racist, none of that crap. But where he called out government kind of sucking and them just always failing, and like he's hitting on right here, which is we're just going to tax you, give us more of your money. That aspect I got. I got where he was coming from. His process on how he felt things needed to be handled and what needed to be done, absolutely do not support, do not get on board with any of that. But I do get where he's at right at this moment in the timeline that we're talking about. Where he's coming out of the military, he writes this letter. It's a weird place to be, and I don't know if that makes me automatically some like racist person. I don't know, but I do get where he's saying like the government sucks, and
I don't think it makes you
where they're
racist
hitting
at all. In fact, you have to be racist to be racist. So, I'm going to.
Did you say you have to be a racist to be a racist?
You have to be a racist to be a racist. Just because you decide that the government sucks doesn't make you a racist.
That's true. I 100% agree with that.
Regardless of why you are saying the government sucks. So, in obviously this particular instance, he is referring to taxes being a major problem, which I think most people could probably be on board with and be like, yeah, taxes are a problem. When, they want to take on the upper echelons of the tax bracket, they're taking 40% almost of your earned income, not like, oh, hey, I invested this money or someone just gave me this money. It's money that you had to go to work for, and they're going to take
agreed.
40% of that. That's ridiculous. That's absolutely ridiculous. So for me, I'm going to go a step further than you. I'm not racist. I'm not going to impede someone from doing something based on their skin color or anything like that. Not an issue for me.
Mm-hmm.
However, I am 100% in agreement with the mother trucker on this particular statement.
Yeah. Be very clear.
Are ridiculous.
He is a douchebag.
Well,
this
clearly.
guy is like a sickening, and we'll get into further details. This guy is a piece of crap. Piece of crap.
But
his philosophy on this, maybe he's got some points. But he's a piece of crap.
I do think at a certain point, with the way that the political climate is going right now, civil war might be unavoidable.
That was the weird part when I was reading some of that and listening to that. I was like, it's interesting how, I mean, this was in 90, when he sent this letter, 93, 94?
This was after the military, so this was probably 92, 91, 92, okay. Something like that. It doesn't give a specific date on it.
Was this when he was trying to get a job, when he was trying to go back into IT, and he was claiming that because of affirmative action, he couldn't get employed and all that?
I don't think so.
Okay, because I know that was part of what
this is before 93. Okay. But it's sometime in the period after him leaving the military in 91 and 93. Okay. So I would assume this is probably just letters he sent over a period of time. It doesn't give a specific date. Now it does go a little bit further down here, and I don't think I actually read this portion. So I will probably just read that, to be honest.
Go for it.
I don't remember that. So anyway, he sent that. He also wrote to a representative of New York, complaining about the arrest of a woman that was carrying mace.
I do remember this.
He said, it is a lie if we tell ourselves that the police can protect us everywhere at all times. Firearm restrictions are bad enough, but now a woman can't even carry mace in her purse.
Mm-hmm. Do you remember that? Yeah.
Now I would be a hypocrite if I said that, like, you shouldn't be allowed to carry mace. Like, I firmly believe that people, if you want to carry a firearm with you, I firmly believe that pretty much anybody should be able to carry a firearm unless you have some type of really like something that's going to make you just like snap and like kill somebody for no reason. I mean, that's probably hard to assess, so that's why I'm more on the, if everyone's carrying a firearm, it kind of prevents the crazy people from, killing people.
There was somebody said that recently. It was on somebody's radio show, and they said that they were talking about how they could have concealed carry where they lived. It was legal or whatever. So he goes, everybody's real respectful to everybody around here because nobody knows they might be packing.
I mean, there's that saying that you've probably heard 15,000 times. An armed society is a polite society. People are generally going to be nicer to each other if they think like, hey, this mother trucker might be crazy and he might shoot me. I'm not saying that that's a good thing, but like, I'm just saying, if everyone has an ability to defend themselves at the split second, you don't have to wait the 3 minutes, 4 minutes in a good response time for the police to show up. You can defend yourself right now. I don't see any problem with that. I think that's a good thing. And I think when people are expected to rely on the police to defend them, which I'm fairly positive if you're not in a public space, it is ultimately, and you might disagree with me, and that's fine, but ultimately it is not really the responsibility of a police officer to defend you. It is their responsibility to stop the crime of whatever might be happening.
Yeah.
But your safety is not their number one priority. In a public
I don't know. I was just saying, I've never looked into that.
I think a little bit. However, if someone breaks into your house or something like that, I mean, their objective is to end the crime that's happening. Mm-hmm. Now, obviously, that very much could involve protecting you, but they're not coming there with the sole purpose of your protection. They're coming there to stop a crime that is being committed. Now, I'm not saying that there's not officers out there that would, not lay down their lives to protect somebody, but ultimately the job, the way that it is, I mean, you can't expect someone else to lay down their life to defend you if you're not willing to defend yourself. That's the way I look at it. I don't know. I think firearms are a very good thing for people to be carrying, and I think it's beneficial. So I'm on board with this comment. It's very hard for me to be in disagreement.
Did he take it a step further? I thought he might have taken it like a little bit further with what he said to the newspaper. I thought he went like, was that all he said? Was, oh no, he did end it with, I hope it doesn't come to bloodshed, right? And he's like,
this portion, no. I mean, he ended the last one that said he hoped that it did not come to that, but that it might. Referring to Civil War and the bloodshed might, have to happen for reforming.
So he's already getting fired up about this stuff, and this is prior to Ruby Ridge. Ruby Ridge hasn't even happened yet.
Prior to Waco and Ruby Ridge and all that. That he apparently was in Dexter. This is the part that I don't remember, so I'm just going to kind of read on it. It's while visiting friends in Decker, Michigan. I've never been to Decker. McVeigh reportedly complained that the Army had implanted a microchip into his buttocks so that the government could track him.
I hadn't heard this one.
McVeigh worked long hours in a dead-end job and felt that he did not have a home. He sought romance, but his advances were rejected by a coworker, and he felt nervous around women. He believed that he brought too much pain to his loved ones. He grew angry and frustrated at his difficulties in finding a girlfriend. He took up obsessive gambling. Unable to pay gambling debts, he took out cash advances and then defaulted on his repayments. He began looking for a state so that he could live without heavy government regulation or high taxes.
I forgot about this. So two things. He did. I forgot. Because he only hooked up with maybe 2 women that we know for sure. But like back in the day when he was getting out of high school, I think it was, or he might have still been in high school. I'm not sure. He hooked up with a much older lady than him. And then they were talking about how he didn't do very well with ladies at all. But like one of the reasons probably being is like every chick he probably met, I'm assuming he only tried to approach white women. I'm guessing. I don't know for sure. But he probably was like, have you read the Turner Diaries? Have you read this book? We are the chosen people. We are the chosen. We
We're the
need to
chosen
breed.
ones. Yeah.
Our seed must, That's probably why. They probably gave us some creepy vibes. How do you feel about building bombs? Do you like building?
Yeah.
Anyways,
sure.
I feel like the guy probably didn't have great. Not that I have like game or anything, but I just don't feel like he was giving off a strong game there at all. I like how it's all their faults too. Like every chick was probably her fault.
It kind of sounds like what's that serial killer? Yeah, Ed Kemper just blames it on the people that don't want to be with him. It's your fault that I'm.
So you gotta chop their head off and ride around with it in the car. That's what you do.
That's what you do. This is the way.
I'm not even gonna follow up with that.
He became enraged with the government when the government told him that he had been overpaid $1,058 while in the army, and that he had to pay back the money.
Okay, first of all, kind of dick move on their part. Not gonna lie. Sorry, that is your fault.
That's true, but
I get it. But when that
doesn't take away
happens,
that it will happen. And in fact, it happened to me. I think at Intiva. They overpaid me slightly, and then they just took it out of my next paycheck.
Right. So for his probably sucks though, because like, I mean, $1,000 is still a little bit now, but $1,000 in the early '90s, a little bit of money. That's a chunk of change. And I forgot about his gambling problem. He was because he lived in New York at the time, right? So he's a huge Buffalo Bills fan. What happened to the Buffalo Bills, bro? In the early '90s, do you know what they did?
Sucked.
Yeah, they were really good actually, but they couldn't win a Super Bowl. They went to the Super Bowl like 4 times in a row. I think it was 91, 92. And then 94 and 95 or something like that. They went like almost basically within 5 years. They went to the Super Bowl 4 times and lost every single time. And he probably bet on them every time because it'd be like the Lions made it, and I'd probably be like, "Good, let's go."
I would be betting against them though.
I would.
So after that, he wrote an angry letter to the government,
very firm,
saying, "Go ahead, take everything I own." Take my dignity. Feel good as you grow fat and rich off at my expense, sucking my tax dollars and property.
He told him, "Suck my tax dollars."
Sucking my.
Oh, I misheard. I was like, "Wow, he went there, huh?" Oh, like that's a decent burn for the night. You suck this dick, tax this dick. That's how about that.
So it does say that McVeigh introduced his sister to anti-government literature. Probably AKA the Turner Diaries.
Greatest
but
book
his father
never read me as a 5-year-old. Actually, his mom didn't. But I just feel like who introduced. I just want to know who is the first person that gave him the Turner Diaries, because he read it in like high school. I could have swore it was in high school when you read this. So where do you find anti-Semitic literature? You can't just go to the library back then and be like, "Where's your, You're I don't even know if we're allowed to say it. Well, you already said Ku Klux Klan earlier. I don't want to get in trouble. We're saying this in a funny manner, but like, who goes to the library and is like, "Where's your white power section? Do you have like a?"
I don't think that's a thing.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is like, who gave this guy this book, and he fell in love with it and was like, "This is the greatest book ever."
Well,
and to be fair, I've never read the book, but from the little bit of excerpts that I've seen from it and seen it read, it does play pretty strongly on those that have opinions about. And this is where it gets dangerous. Anybody who's against the government, it seems to start there with them, and then they pretty on point with all that stuff. But then they're also like, "By the way, we're the chosen people of God, and anybody else needs to die." And that's where you're like, "Whoa!" We just escalated pretty quick.
Whoa! Pump the brakes, homie.
Yeah. Did you just say everyone? That's sorry. Keep going. Anyways.
So he introduced his sister to anti-government literature. His father didn't really have much interest in those. He ended up moving out of the house and into an apartment with no telephone.
Guess someone doesn't like the classics.
Didn't like telephones either. Probably couldn't afford one though, realistically.
Yeah.
And
what
then
was his job
it also
at the time,
said that
you know?
it made it impossible for his employer to contact him for overtime assignments.
So here's the thing with this guy a little bit. So he's like, again, he's probably like them Jewish people. He's blaming whatever, anything and everything as to why he's not getting overtime, why he's not getting the IT position. Because I know he'd fell out of touch with tech, as it were, while he was in the military. But because he
have
blamed,
a phone, kind of.
Yeah, so I'm saying he blamed, like affirmative action for the reason why he wasn't getting these jobs, these better jobs. But at the same time, if you don't even have a telephone, bro, how else did you reach people back
how
then?
How are you going to know?
Like, especially in the 90s, you needed a landline with that little tape recorder. Remember, you'd put it in there, and we thought it was so cool because it was tiny, because size doesn't always matter, right?
A little, it was for voicemail.
The little copy ones, and you were so cool. You'd like record different new voicemails, and we thought we were so cool.
I don't know. We had a digital one growing up.
That's when they upgraded.
Cool. That was way cool.
Yeah. We're so far off track.
With the NRA believing that it was too weak on gun rights. I'm in agreement with that. I do think the NRA is too weak on gun rights. In fact, the NICS system exists because of the NRA. I do think the NRA is they're a little weak on supporting gun rights. So for me, I like GOA. Yeah, I know. Gun Owners of America is someone who is there a zero compromise on your right to own firearms. They don't accept anything that is going to infringe on your ability to buy a firearm. Obviously, that's not included. Like, if you're a felon on violent charges and crap like that, like, you shouldn't be having a firearm. But like, pretty much other than that, they pretty well believe that the government doesn't have a right to tell you that you can't own a firearm, which I'm more behind that than. So we're coming up rapidly on his approach to what ended up happening in Oklahoma City.
Okay.
There's only a couple things left that really got the ball rolling, we'll say.
Please tell us.
And that was Waco and Ruby Ridge. So obviously, Waco happened first.
Yeah.
And he watched it. On TV.
Did you just say wait? You said Ruby Ridge, right? You meant to say Ruby Ridge. Did you say Waco? I misheard. I thought you said Waco. Ruby Ridge happened first. I apologize. You probably said it right. I apologize for interrupting. I'm sorry.
No, I definitely said it wrong if Ruby Ridge happened first.
Yeah, Ruby Ridge took place first with Randy Weaver and all that and Vicky. That was that happened in '94, I want to say. And it's been a while since we covered that one, like a year and something ago we covered that. And then once again, that's episode 19 in our archives. If you'd like to go back and hear how bad we sounded then.
This was 93 is when Waco happened. Let me look it up.
Then Ruby Ridge had to have happened prior to that. Well, you can keep talking. I can look it up if you need, Micah. You're the one presenting.
No, I got this.
Okay. All right.
So yeah, it's April 19th, 1993 was Waco. And then
what was that? April what?
1993.
April, did they give the exact date? The only reason I'm bringing that up is because April 19th.
April 19th.
It was April 19th. Interesting.
Yeah. April 19th. So it says, actually, it started February 28th.
Right, but when everything went down was...
and April 19th is when the actual, I believe, the siege started.
Oops. Went to Google when was Ruby Ridge and it filled in for some reason and it make sure I say this right before I even say it. Oh,
okay, so Ruby Ridge was August of 92.
Yeah,
so that's my bad.
So they were pretty close, but that's what I was thinking. It was right there in 92.
Okay,
anyway, so Ridge.
Ruby Ridge happens. Obviously, this pisses him off because he felt like it was an overreach of government, as a lot of people did.
Yeah.
So he very much decided to get involved in anti-government, we'll say propaganda-ish, but 100% it can't be propaganda if it's true. So I do think that Ruby Ridge was an overreach by government. I do think that there's a responsible way to do things, and there's an irresponsible way to do things. I think they very much chose the irresponsible way of doing things.
Yeah,
and there were much better outcomes that could have happened at Ruby Ridge.
Yeah. And if you guys already did your homework and you went back and listened to that episode or have already listened to it, you know about all this already because it wasn't good. That really, like you're saying, was the tipping point for him here is that this takes place. Some of it was televised, not so much what was going on up there, more of just that overhead shot and then what was going on at the bottom. And then, so that got the ball rolling for him. He started traveling around to these different gun shows. That became a really big thing for him. I think this is about the time he met Terry Nichols as well, correct? I want to say. Because he served. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I believe he actually already knew.
Yeah, because he served with
Terry
him, right?
Nichols, because he served with his brother, I believe. I can't remember what his name was.
I know, it's true.
I'm sorry. I think I wrote it down somewhere.
I'm sorry. But you've thrown off the Empress groove. I think it was. I could be wrong.
James Nichols.
Funny story about that.
I believe he served with James, and then he met Terry through James.
Because Terry Nichols was from here in Michigan, right? I'm almost dead positive.
I don't know.
Well, the reason I'm bringing it up is because where I'm working currently, the guy, Terry Nichols' cousin, I think it was Terry, I could have sworn it was Terry Nichols, is his cousin worked where I'm working. And
oh, Jesus.
Yeah.
Oh.
And when this all went down, dude, he said for years and years afterwards, they were like watched very aggressively by the FBI. And it was just like his cousin didn't even really know.
I do think the way that some of this went down far as prosecution goes later on, I think, in my opinion, from what I've seen, I think it was a little messed up.
Yeah.
To a certain extent. I do think there's credible reasons why people may have been prosecuted, and we'll get into that. Mm-hmm. Anyway, Ruby Ridge happens, and he's looking at it as, a man lost his wife and his son to the government for something like owning firearms. He sees that as a huge problem. So it causes him to jump on the bandwagon of 100% anti-government. He starts getting like bumper stickers and that kind of stuff. And then shortly after this, obviously...
I'm sorry, one last thing. Because I forgot about this. He had a trial run. I think it was in 92. It was a trial run. Just like a month-long free trial run with the KKK. I forgot about that. He was like I didn't know about that. Yeah. He was like, they're not fully committed. He's like, they're really into the racist stuff, not so much the anti-government stuff. And I was like, it's the KKK. Like in my head, I'm like, I don't know with some of these yahoos sometimes, some of the decisions that they make. I mean, like, when has the KKK don't get me wrong, they influence a lot of politics and stuff over time, but like, that's not really what they're known for. Like, we all kind of know that they've been known as the very racist organization. So, anyway, I apologize. He had a bunch of material left over that he didn't use, and so he was trying to sell some of that. Move that product.
Well, he did have some. We'll say questionable. Far as being racist, bumper stickers and that kind of stuff that he had, but he also had some that, like this one, for instance, was when guns are outlawed, I will be an outlaw. I'm not entirely against that one.
Triggering so much in me right now because he had this van and he would constantly. Another song he was obsessed with playing was Bad Company. Do you know the song Bad Company?
The Day I Die. Like I would know it. If.
Anyways, he would play the song incessantly. And, well, this actually will come up after Waco, so I'll let you get to Waco at least. But yeah, he would ride around this van, like, he was like that. He wasn't fully out there racist probably yet, probably just like made those racist comments here and there. He was like, I'm not fully there. I'm just playing my music and got my stickers. And if you need a KKK connection, I got you. Just let me know. I didn't fully commit. I stopped after my 1 month trial, canceled my credit card. And, So keep going. I'm so stupid.
So apparently he told a student reporter that the government is afraid of guns people have because they have control of the people at all times. Once you take away guns, You can do anything to the people. You give them an inch, they take a mile. I
See, he
believe
says
we are
stuff like
slowly
that.
turning into a socialist government. I mean, he's
Dang
not
it.
he's not wrong here.
Dang it.
The
Yeah.
government is continually growing bigger and more powerful, and the people need to prepare to defend themselves against government control.
This is what he's still saying, right?
This is what he told a student reporter. Yes. So you could try very hard to nitpick the crap out of that. It's very hard to. The government is afraid of populace being armed because it does represent a threat to tyrannical laws and whatnot. It is a reason why we still live in a free country. If anybody out there believes that this country wouldn't be different if we didn't have an armed population, you show me one country out there that has the freedoms that we still have and is armed, or not armed. I'm sorry, not armed. There is not a country out there that has as much freedom as we have and still maintains not having firearms. It's just not. There's no country out there really has the same gun laws as we do. So we obviously have a huge portion of the guns in the world. But every other country regulates it, and every other country is less free. So it is very hard if let's just say, hypothetically, which I don't think this is too far-fetched, but hypothetically, the government takes away guns, right? Everybody goes along with this. It doesn't cause an uprising. Nobody, overthrows the government or whatever. Everybody gives up their guns. And then the government is like, oh, well, we've got a food shortage. You all are going to have to stand in line to get your next meal. What are you going to do about that? Nothing. And the government tells you that, well, we need this job to be filled. So you no longer work where you currently work. You don't have a choice. You're going to go work here because that's what we need. What are you going to do about it? Nothing. You're either going to do what they told you to do, or you're going to starve to death because you're not provided food or water, money, a place to live. Like, there's so many things that could happen if you don't have the ability to be like, whoa.
No, I 100% agree.
Happen.
And, it's funny enough, in doing some of the research for this, which I know it seems like I did zero research for this first episode, guys, and I apologize. I promise I did. One of the things that was said that kind of bothered me, that I was noticing a pretty big trend with, but they're not 100% wrong. I mean, they have some validity to what they were saying, which is that anybody who's anti-government, good bet they're going to probably be anti-Semitic or white power neo-nationalist or whatever, neo-Nazi nationalist or whatever. And I was like, I feel like that's a little bit of a stretch. I was like, I get what you're saying, and I do get almost all these dudes in their organizations that are that way are clearly anti-government. But to say that anybody who's against the government controlling every aspect of your life, like, there are a ton of just libertarians, which I identify with way more, that are not racist at all. Like, when you're a libertarian, you just believe that every individual should have their own freedom and be left alone. Big government should stay out of local government, and the individual should be able to take care of themselves in some ways. And you just mainly just want to be left alone as long as you're not hurting anybody. So I think that was a bit of a leap, but it was kind of concerning to, like, listening to the people that were covering it. That was something we said in, like, at least 3 different shows I listened to, and they have no relation to each other or know each other at all. And it was like, it's kind of weird they're all coming to that conclusion that just because you're against the government must ring a bell that you're
terrorist.
That you're planning on doing this crap. Yeah, because this guy was. This is a true definition of what he does here is a domestic terrorist for sure. I mean, this isn't good. Which it's 7:30, so we only have about 15 minutes. I'm sorry, Micah.
No, I don't have that much left. And then we can kind of go into his relationship with the other conspirators in the next episode. But he apparently after Waco, he decided to involve himself in gun shows and stuff. This was for about 5 months. He became a pretty prominent portion of a bunch of these. He ended up going to 40 different states.
Yeah.
And
You know
it was
how he did it? Do you know how he made these long drives? Did you hear about that at all? I think was it Terry Nichols or Roger Morris or something like that, who introduced him to meth. They were like, "Oh, you're driving from."
It specifically mentioned that he had experimented with cannabis and with
cannabis, for the love of God! Because we all know cannabis is just gonna wake your rear end up. You're like, "Woo! Let's drive across the country, son. New York to California, here I come." No, this guy did mess with some meth, and when Waco happened, just really quick, and I will shut up and let you finish this up here. When Waco happened, he was with Terry Nichols, I do believe, when that took place, because it got kind of weird with Terry Nichols. I believe Terry Nichols. I know you said you thought he served with his brother, but I could have swore that Terry Nichols was actually his supervisor in the military. It was above him. It was a higher ranking than him, I should say.
You might be right about that.
Okay,
you might be right about that.
Okay, well, this guy ordered a mail order bride, okay, from the Philippines.
Ooh.
And I don't remember her name, something Faye. But Terry Nichols and Timothy McVeigh became so close that she actually became jealous of their relationship. She was like, "Hey, the bromance, a little too much for me." And then, this is where it gets weird, Timothy started to realize that he could pretty much just tell Terry what to do, and basically made him a cuck, because he just started sleeping with what's his name's wife, Terry Nichols' wife. It was very weird. She was like, "You're spending too much time with my husband. Let's do it." I don't know what was going on there, but I guess where meth is involved, who knows. Also, just throwing it out there, you're anti whatever, white people only. You got a mail order bride from the Philippines. Doesn't that break some of your rules or whatever your rules of engagement are? And then Timothy McVeigh was like, "I mean, whatever, let's do this."
In Rome.
I mean, you were striking out everywhere else, so honestly, probably you just needed something. But my point being to that, just really quick, he was with them when Waco happened, and he actually was visibly, as a lot of people were. And if you watched Waco, and we covered that 3 parts, go check it out. Everybody knows about it. It was bad all around, mishandled, and the government, the FBI, the ATF in particular, really messed that up. But point being, one thing that triggered him, which was the tipping point of that's it, I'm doing this, I'm using Turner Diaries as my playbook basically, was he watched them drive the tanks over the buildings, right, which was not good, killed a ton of people, and then they took down the Branch Davidians flag. Remember, they had a flag hanging up, and they raised their own. The ATF and the FBI raised their own flags up. Not an American flag, from my understanding. I could be wrong in this, but they raised their own symboled flag up, which he took as, at least from what I was reading, it said they raised their own flag. Because I assume if they'd raised their American flag, he wouldn't be so pissed about this. Maybe it was, though. He said he took that as the government declaring that they were waging war on the American people. So that was his point, where he completely 100% committed and was like, "I'm doing this after I do the Filipino that is my best friend's wife. Yeah. And then I'm going to do some meth and drive to New York and bet on the Buffalo Bills because they're winning the Super Bowl this year, son." All right. Please close that out somehow. I don't know how we do that.
So at these gun shows, he also handed out cards with Lon Huaraches, I think is Huaraches.
The sniper from Ruby Ridge.
Yeah, the sniper that killed Randy Weaver's wife.
Yeah.
He also wrote hate mail to him.
Which he was actually at the Waco incident as well, and so was Timothy McVeigh. Timothy McVeigh actually tried to break through the barrier to get in with him. Did you know that?
I do know that Timothy McVeigh showed up to Waco.
Yeah. He's selling his merchandise. He had his pickup truck, his van, his bag.
Well, I think it was a car that he had.
I think so.
He had a bunch of bumper stickers and crap. He was selling for $5 each.
Over here, whatever you need.
At Waco.
I mean, that's balls, though, right? You got all of the ATF, the FBI down there. You're like, "You guys need meth, weed, anything? Let me know. I'm your dude." I don't know. Sorry.
So anyway, he did he was traveling west at the time before Waco ends up happening, and with these gun shows, He claimed that the further west he went, the more anti-government sentiment there was, until he got to California, which he called the People's Socialist Republic of California.
Well, I mean, they are the Republic of California. They did withhold they held the right to secede from the United States, I do believe. Them in Texas, correct? When we formed the United States, I believe, are the only two that held that intact.
I'm not sure. I know there was talk about them seceding, but
well, I think they held it. They could succeed from the United States without Congress or like the federal government voting on it. Like they can locally do it if they wanted. I think
which
that would
make sense. I mean, state rights. Anyway, there's an author. An author that said, in the gun show culture, McVeigh found a home, though he remained skeptical of some of the most extreme ideas being banded around. Yeah.
Wait, so the guy who's
talking to people there about the United Nations, the federal government, and possible threats to American liberty.
Okay, so really quickly, this guy was so committed.
What? I'm gonna blow this building up. But your radical thoughts that everyone in America should own a gun.
He was handing out the card, which I rudely interrupted you. He was handing out the card with the sniper's address. He doxed the crap out of this guy. Was like, I'm not saying anything happens to him, but here's his address, and that's what he did. Here he is right here.
I mean, one of the letters he wrote to him was, what goes around comes around. That's kind of, I mean, it's an implied threat.
He also, at one point, was so committed to this Waco thing, which was messed up. I mean, he was like, this deep conspiracy. They shot all the people coming out of the back and stuff. He would carry around anybody who remembers how much VHS player with a portable VHS player, as portable as it could be back then, and a TV or a monitor. And he worked security at a zoo, and he was so committed to talking to anybody about this. If they brought up the word Waco, any word associated with the W, he would go and get his stuff out of the van, bring it in, and start showing everything, and also be like, here's a copy of the Turner Diaries. Read that. Get back to me with what you think. And give him a free bumper sticker, probably, The guy that he worked with him at night shift was so concerned that he actually started recording their conversations, because he was like, this guy's not okay. Like, I think this guy's... He knew something was up, and we're going to probably roll into some of that next week, where could say there was a lot of warning red signs,
didn't know about
red
the
flags
zoo
here.
thing, but I knew he was an armored vehicle guard for a little while. That one of his coworkers said he showed up. Let me see if I can get this right. He showed up looking like Pancho Villa.
Oh, Pancho!
He said he was wearing those. What are they called? The crossbands that hold like extra rounds.
Oh my God!
And he was wearing those when he showed up to work.
He showed up to work. Like, they're like, guys, we're transporting money. Don't be, try to be conspicuous. Don't stick out. And the guy like showed up like double belt fisted, ready to go. TNT strapped. Wait, do you have a picture of it? Share it to me right now, and I'll share it in the feed. Matter of fact, you should be able to select what you want to share, and then it'll pop up at the bottom, and then I can add it to the screen. So this guy showed up at work, trying to look like whatever picture Mike is gonna pull up for us here. And I think when you go to share, it says you can pick like where you're sharing. So you can share your desktop, you can share your messenger, or you can share your whole screen. It's up to you. That's the point being, this guy was not, I think, stable for the last 2-3 years. Excuse me. And there were a lot of warning signs by a lot of people leading up to it, in my opinion. And we'll get into some of that in next week's episode, I guess you could say.
Okay, I think I'm just going to share the screen because...
Yeah, go ahead.
It's not really one to...
That's all right. Whatever you share, and then if you click on it and put it up, I'll be able to pull it up.
So we'll share that real quick, and then William has to go.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the draft's not till 8, but yeah, pretty much we'll have to get going. Are you trying to share it right now or no?
Yeah.
Oh. There's so much clicking going on. Oh, there.
Did it show up? Yeah, so that is what he showed up.
Oh my God. Yeah, those are the kind of people you don't, I don't know, either those are the people you want running your money. Let's be honest. If you're somebody who needs your money protected, maybe you want Pancho Villa, huh? Maybe you
I mean, yeah, you'd probably be a little less likely to try to rob an armed guard if he's got bandoliers on. You know,
Yeah.
he's got a Henry rifle ready to get. I don't know. I mean, I
Yeah.
feel like that's the kind of weaponry you'd be carrying if you're running around with
So,
bandoliers on.
so in some closing thoughts
Whatever
here,
fudge there.
first of all, sorry it was for me being so chaotic for you. I'm sorry. You were like trying to keep it all on course, and I was like a little tornado. I was happy in tornado in trailer park. Anyways, the the guy, I think, I don't know that I'm gonna put this like you said. His parents had a divorce. Guess what? Bad things happen in life. Okay, I'm not saying that doesn't affect our psyche. It doesn't affect us as kids. But I don't know that anybody gets out of childhood without having something happen, okay? So, and I'm not really saying he used that as an excuse, but he definitely used the whole idea of being bullied excessively kind of deal. Kind of like the David Koresh, where David Koresh was actually abused quite a bit as a child. Probably had more of an abusive upbringing for sure, it sounds like, than Timothy here. I think with this guy, there were a lot of red warning signs, but at the same time, what do people do? Because like, if we knew somebody like this in our life right now, I don't know if you know anybody like this in your life, but in passing, I wouldn't say that I'm like consistently in my life, but I've worked with some guys before. I'm like, yeah, it's that guy could come to work one day and he might not. I'm gonna be nice to that guy for just bring him free food sometimes. Point being, we've all worked with some people. You're like, that person's not stable, but at the same time, did we report it? Did we say anything? But I think the coworker being so nervous, so worried to record a conversation. I mean, probably was after he pulled out all the KKK stuff. It was like your Turner Diaries, and here's this, and I might blow something up. He was like, I should have recorded that. And then he just started recording every conversation afterwards. I don't know. But I guess what I'm saying is there were some warning signs, and we'll probably get into this a little bit further in the next episode. There were some clear indications. I don't know how much research you did on that place that he was staying at, that compound. Did you ever get to that at all? No?
Compound Maybe. He was staying at?
There was a compound that he was kind of associated with some other people. We'll talk about it after the show. And point being, the FBI had a chance to raid this place and knew about it, but they were being retrained, which they needed to be. Based on
you're
the way
talking about the church place.
Have you heard the guy that ran that place?
I don't think it was like a compound. It was considered a church. I can't remember exactly.
It was compound. It was
sure.
Dude, but if you heard the guy that ran the place, what it was called, this guy. Okay,
we'll get into it.
We'll get into it. But Mike, your closing thoughts on this so far? What do you think?
Is this guy he was mentally not stable, and I think he had some of the right ideas, far as like
he's the government is or something in his life.
Yeah, he had the Turner Diaries to guide him. So, I'm not at all like saying that what he did was right or any of that. I think that's one of the worst possible methods you could ever do to have someone join your cause. Obviously, racism is not acceptable either, but I would take that over being, a domestic terrorist. But I mean, he wasn't wrong. I mean, the government is overreaching, has been, probably always will, so on and so forth. Like that part, for me, I think he had a decent point of view, at least for that. He just had the wrong idea of how to go about doing something about it. So I think it's just like anybody else. If you could have the best idea in the world, but if you execute it wrong, it's not.
Which is kind of what happened at Waco. Like that's where the FBI messed up with that. I don't know. We covered that 3 parts. You can go check it out. Episode like 23, 24, and 27, I think, something like that. So yeah, guys. We're gonna do a little more research, and I promise I'll be a little more involved and focused because the second half of this is gonna be pretty tragic. Actually, there's a lot we could cover and talk about, and I'll admit, listening to it bothered me. Like there were some spots that, like, especially as a father, like it really, this guy was a real piece of crap. That's all I can say. He deserved to die. and he died. And you know, I don't know. Anyways, we'll say that for, I think the next episode will be a little more somber than this. I know I joked around this one quite a bit just because of these guys and their belief systems and like all this crap that they're into. You can't. But again, hey, you need yourself a bride. Go check the Filipino. Apparently, you just.
I mean, I've been offered, so
you were offered. Yeah, you were. I was offered one, but it was in Russia. But also, hey, it's like, come on. Anyways, okay, I probably should end it there before we go further. And I want to put on one last thing to end this. I in no way, shape, or form support anything that Timothy had to say about racist stuff. Some of what he said in regards to the government, I agree with. That his message was right. The messenger is a piece of crap. That's I'll end it that way for myself. Is there anything you want to add to that, Micah, or just so people don't get the wrong idea on this?
No,
one?
I think I've made myself very clear, and anybody that knows me knows that. I mean, I'm not that kind of person. But I do think there is something to be said about the way the government handles things, and I do think at some point something is going to have to be done about it. I think blowing up innocent people is not the answer. Bombs are a very cowardly way of doing things anyway. You know, I never understood that kind of mindset.
Why didn't you go like Pancho Villa style? Why didn't you roll up there like Arnold Schwarzenegger, whatever movie that was where he had that like Gatling gun on his side? Do you remember that one? Whoa, crap, what was that movie called? And it was like 100 guys in that building. He's just I was so impressed.
Rambo? Or what are we talking about?
No, it wasn't. Wow.
You said
Did you just say Arnold Schwarzenegger and then say the word Rambo?
Terminator? Or?
Yes, he was in Terminator. Who played Rambo, Micah?
Well, Sylvester Stallone, but I didn't know what he was trying to talk about, you know?
Anyways. Okay, guys.
He did say he halfway considered abandoning his plan to blow up the building to go after that sniper and kill either him or his family members instead. So
again, I can't. You're gonna do something, do it mano a mano, right? Like, you know what I mean? Why are you with the people and the children and
or why not just use your freedom of speech and, you know, get a movement behind you,
I guess,
instead of making it, you know, like you might have thought maybe it makes you a martyr or some bull crap. It doesn't. It hurts your cause because no one wants to be associated with someone who blows up innocent people.
And the weird thing was, and I know this is kind of more closing thoughts for the next episode, but the weird thing was what he ended up doing caused more damage because at the time, people would have been very receptive to his thought pattern in some ways because people were pissed about what had happened at Ruby Ridge and Waco. Waco especially was national. I mean, that was global. People saw that on the news. There was no covering up what might have happened in the cabin in the woods deal. You drove over the place. Yes, they were unarmed. I forget the name of the vehicle, but basically essentially a tank that can't fire. But my point being, people were open to it and the government had royally screwed that up, as it were. And I think at the time, people would have been a lot more open to hearing some things and changing some things. This is also, we forgot to mention this too, Clinton had put in the assault weapon ban at this time. That was another pushing stone, or, you know, another little straw that broke his camel's back there, you know? I forgot about that, which I believe never got voted back in again. I believe once it fell off or whatever, it fell off. But Clinton had done that, I think, in 93, 92?
I think it was 86, if I remember.
Holy crap, no way. Clinton wasn't in 86, was he? No.
There was 94 was
Bush Sr. served up into like
ban, but there was some type of
91. I think Clinton took over 92 was when Clinton was elected.
Oh, we don't have time to look it up.
We don't have time to look that up, but
regardless, we are educated people, so
once Hillary and I took
thanks
office,
thanks for watching if you did. If you did, we also apologize for the last hour and a half. And
Epstein's got a jet. Sometimes I go on little trips with him.
Epstein didn't kill himself.
Just my buddy. Anyways, all right, guys. As always, stay curious and keep it weird.